volunteer training, so it's an information session kind of about all of our programs. I'm Barb Kramer, and with me here is also Norm Tiedemann. So we'll talk about High Tech Kids, and first, the organization that does the programs, then give an overview of each of the different programs that we coordinate and the volunteer roles within those programs and the schedule, and then talk about the process for signing up. There's a High Tech Kids part and a first part, and then also talk about additional training that is available. So who is FIRST? FIRST is for Inspiration and Recognition in Science and Technology. It's a nonprofit based in New Hampshire, and they have 4 international programs that they author the challenge, they come up with the mission models, they have resources, and they set the rules. The 4 programs are Junior First Lego League, First Lego League, First Tech Challenge, and FRC, which is First Robotics Competition. And here at High Tech Kids, we deliver these fun, hands-on science and engineering and technology programs that inspire Minnesota kids in their formative years, everywhere from kindergarten to 12th grade. We are the first affiliate partner in Minnesota, and we provide programming for First Lego League Junior, First Lego League, and First Tech Challenge. We inspire kids to build confidence, create opportunities, and thrive in the 21st century. This is our staff. We do all this with a staff of 7. Cheryl is our executive director. I'm Barb. I'm not in the picture. This is Norm, who does our FTC programs. Vicki Cody is program director kind of for everything. Jeannie Badger is First Lego League and First Lego League Junior. And Kendra is a programs assistant. And then Emily Shelton is our development specialist who helps us with funding of our programs. Okay, so on to the program overview. Just at a glance, these are the 3 programs that we coordinate. First Lego League Junior is from September to April. It's 6 to 9-year-olds, kindergarten through 4th grade, roughly teams of 2 to 6 kids. Last year in Minnesota, there were 257 teams. That's 1,285 students that were involved in that program. First Lego League is the next program. It runs September through February. It's 9 to 14-year-olds, so they're 4th to 9th grade, teams of 3 to 10 kids. In 2018, we had 639 teams, 4,480 students who were involved in that. The next program is First Tech Challenge. Again, it runs September through February, 13 to 18-year-olds, so those are 7th to 12th graders. They form teams of 3 to 15 kids. This can be larger teams. And last year we had 199 teams, so there were 1,445 Minnesota students involved in that program. We've seen growth in, at least a little bit of growth in all of these programs this year. We don't have this updated yet. So overall, almost 1,100 robotics teams in the state. I heard somewhere that we have more robotics teams than hockey teams in Minnesota now, which is quite a thing. This is the first program of the First Lego League Junior. Like I said, for the kids from K through 4th grade. They conduct research about the current challenge topic, which is Boomtown Build this year. They build a Lego model using a WeDo brick, which is a small motor that can be programmed. They incorporate both a simple machine and a motorized part into their model. And they display their findings on a show me poster. So this is more or less like a science fair type atmosphere. These are all international programs. This First Lego League Junior is in 41 countries, 68,000 students worldwide. The volunteer roles for First Lego League Junior are a reviewer. They visit the team in their pit area. They look at their model and their poster, and then they collaborate with other reviewers to assign awards to all the teams and then hand out the awards and hand high fives at a closing ceremony. There's also people that help with team activities. We have things for the kids to do. These are younger kids, and so we need to kind of keep them occupied. So these folks assist with setup and breakdown of the team activity space. They oversee that activity area, and they assist with the rotations of teams in and out of each activity. The time commitment for First Lego League is kind of about half a day. Most of our expos, which is what we call these events, are from 10 to 12:30. There's 2 dates where we've got both a morning expo and an afternoon expo. It would be 2 different sets of teams coming in. And if it's a morning and afternoon event, we prefer our volunteers kind of cover the whole day. So it'd be from 10 to 12:30, and then I don't have the hours on the afternoon one, but probably like 2 to 3:30 or so, or 1 to 3:30 or so. At any rate, here's the season for First Lego League Junior. Like I said, these are expos. They started in November. There are a lot of them in December, which is kind of true of all of our programs, and then 1 a month or 2 a month after that, January, February, and March. The February and March events are the ones that are both morning and afternoon. So those are it's kind of out there in February and March where we would want volunteers kind of for the whole day for First Lego League Junior. The next program is First Lego League. There's multiple components to this. There's a robot game where the kids build and program an autonomous, so no remote control, an autonomous Lego Mindstorms robot to score points by performing the mission tasks. The missions require the robot to navigate, capture, transport, or deliver objects on a printed map. That's the field. And each team has 2.5 minutes to complete as many of these missions as possible. There's an innovation project as part of this program. Through the project, the teams learn more about the science behind the challenge theme. This year's challenge is City Shaper, which kind of lets the kids explore problems in their community and come up with solutions. The kids use their creativity to design an innovative solution or modify an existing solution to a real-world problem, and they then present that at the tournament. And then core values is kind of key to all of these programs. There's a set of 5 core values for first, and the kids will compete like crazy against each other in the robot game, but they still need to respect their teammates, coaches, and even their competitors. And most important, the last of the core values is we have fun. So there are, across the bottom of the slides are the number of countries, 88 countries that have First Lego League, 255,000 students worldwide. And again, this is kids in grades 4 to 8. Here are the trained volunteers that we have for these events. We have referees and field staff. These are out helping the kids run the robot game. So there's a head referee, four referees. They're like at the table with the kids working to make sure they're following rules. We have an MC that kind of keeps things moving and actually announces the event as kind of like a sporting event. And then we have a scoring coordinator that helps to coordinate the software that we use and the computer systems that we use to score the tournaments, the robot runs. We also have judges. There's one head judge, and then at each tournament, a design judge, a programming judge, a core values judge, and an innovation project judge for each of the the groups of kids. We divide the teams that come up to a tournament into 2 or 3 scoring groups, and so we'll have a set of judges for each of those. And typically in core values and the innovation project, we have 2 judges in the room. The robot design and programming are working together in the same room, so there are 2 judges in that room too. It's just that they have 2 different focuses. So a typical tournament, we need 20 to 28 trained volunteers per event. This next slide here, I'm going to switch to YouTube and show some quick videos that kind of show what judging looks like. I'll hopefully do that without losing anything here. But the Innovation Project judge is going to judge the quality of the research project that the kids did related to the theme for the season. And going to YouTube, let me find my video. I am not finding my video. Oh, here it is. See if this comes through.
Hi, we're Team Next Gen.
We're here to check in for project judging.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Alright, you guys, let's do a practice.
That's a good idea.
Do it.
I'll get my raincoat.
Alright, so we're gonna pretend that's the judges, and we're gonna practice what we're gonna say. Alright, let's do it.
Specifically, water bottles.
Well, you guys go ahead and get set up and start whenever you're ready. How's your day going so far?
Pretty good.
Very good. Welcome to NBC News with our hosts.
I'm Amanda.
I am James.
We're going to be talking about water in your house.
Well, it sounds like you did a lot of research on this. So what kind of resources did you use?
Okay, so that's kind of in a nutshell what project judging looks like. The kids come in and do a presentation to the judges, and then they have a question and answer session afterwards. The next is core values. Here we're evaluating the teamwork, so the dynamics and skills that the teams have worked on together. And I have a question there. No. So let's watch that video real quick. Oh, which one's core values?
Hi, we're Team Next Gen.
We're here to check in for project judging.
Okay.
Sorry, wrong video.
This is the core value section. Okay, remember this activity is secret, so there'll be no talking about this activity until the day is over. And use only the strings, move the marker on the sheet of paper to draw or write an object or a word of your choosing. Only 2 simple rules. Everyone must hold onto a string, and you can only touch the string. You may begin when you're ready.
So, hey guys, what if we like maybe wrote the word STEAM? Because that has to do a lot with like technology and stuff.
You know what happened at your team meetings? How did you know what needed to get done that day and who was going to do what?
Yes, and we also.
But everybody.
So that we
Okay, so again, that's an example of what core values looks like. The teams are asked to do an activity, but that's mostly just to watch them interact and see how they plan out something that they have to figure out right on the spot. Next is the technical judging. This is robot design judge. We'll look at the design process and the iterations of the team's robot, so how it started out at the beginning of the year in September and what it looks like now when they're at a tournament, how they used sensors, and the scoring strategies that they used and testing that they did on their robot. The programming judge is going to look at the organization and structure and strategy of the team's written program, so they actually do kind of a code walkthrough with the teams. So let's get the video for that. There we go.
Got the robot and it's on.
Got the programs all set up.
And our engineering notebook.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, all right. Get set up, get your robot.
Where would you like us to sit down our laptop?
Laptop can be over here. And we're gonna start here at the table and with everybody, and then we'll split off and have one or two of you go talk to the programming judge, all right? All right, what's he supposed to do?
Well, what's supposed to do is supposed to come over here and push this forward.
Okay.
And so,
Why don't we have a couple of you stay here with me to talk more about your robot design, and a couple of you go with Jim to talk about programming.
Okay. These are some of the programs.
All right, well, I see that.
Okay, so there, as I said, is design and programming judging done in the same room together. The other role that we have, a trained role that we have, is the referees. The referees observe the matches when the robot is running. They determine which missions are completed. They ensure that the rules are followed, and then they mark a score sheet that tells what was accomplished. And after each match, they take that over to the data entry personnel. They encourage the teams and cheer them on, and they watch for what we call the Spirit Award, which is kind of the teams that were the most encouraging to all of their opponents, everybody running the robots that day. A quick video of what a tournament looks like is coming up.
You water warriors? Yep. All right, turn over here. Okay, we can have two at the table. All right, everyone else can you stay behind the line with that. Good. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1, Lego!
Two pair. Field goal. One.
So that at the end of that video, it showed a little bit about what a match really looks like live. With the ref here, the kids in the blue shirts, that was kind of staged, so there weren't other teams. There wasn't a big audience. So that's kind of the different roles we have. There are also a couple of roles we have. We have an MC that energizes the crowd, maintains the flow of teams as they come in and go off of the performance tables. So they need to be familiar with the game, and because they announce each round. So it's good to know, oh, they just scored that. That's a lot of points, as opposed to something that maybe is only 5 points. We also have tournament scoring coordinators. They set up and break down the software and the computers that we use to enter the scores of the robot rounds. They make sure it's all working properly during the day and that the scores are getting entered. They don't actually do the data entry, but they make sure everything is working smoothly. And at the end of the day, they come up with a sheet that tells us kind of how everything worked for the day. So this is our tournament season this year. We have 3 tiers of tournaments in Minnesota. We have regionals, which run November through December, except for the St. Paul Public Schools and Minneapolis Public Schools that are in January. Teams advance from regionals to sectionals, which are held in January, and then teams advance from the sectional tournament to the state tournament, which is held in February. In order to be a trained official at either a sectional or the state tournament, we want to have experienced judges and referees at those tournaments. So to be at a sectional tournament in January, we'd like judges and referees to have volunteered at least once before those January events, so sometime in November or December. And then at the state tournament, we'd like our judges and referees to have volunteered twice before they get there. We want the judges to be really familiar with the challenge, and the referees definitely very familiar with the rules. And so ideally that would be 1 volunteer stint at a regional tournament and 1 at sectional, but it could be two sectionals or 2 regionals, just so we have a little bit more experienced judges at those events. Now it's Norm's turn to talk.
All right. So yes, the third program that we support is First Tech Challenge. This is for the 7th through 12th graders. It overlaps somewhat with the 4th program, FRC. In Minnesota, FRC is a state high school sport, so it's run differently than these programs are, and we're not involved with the running of that. But First Tech Challenge is then a program for 7th through 12th graders. They're building a bigger robot. It's out of metal beams and parts, and these days a lot of 3D printed parts are used on First Tech Challenge equipment. So it is a robot that is both autonomous and then also remote controlled. So there's 2 phases, which we'll get to. It has to be smaller than 18 inches by 18 inches by 18 inches, weigh less than 42 pounds, and some other restrictions on it. And they use a different programming language, basically a Android program. And you can program it in Java, or there's some block-like programs available also for creating your program. A big part of what teams do is document their progress and process through an engineering notebook. So the entire season, from the first time they meet until they come to a tournament and then beyond, they should be tracking in an engineering notebook what their goals are, what their accomplishments are, who is doing what. If they do outreach, they'll want to put that in there and have pictures of it. Pictures and describe the different attempts they have on building and programming their robot. It basically should be a record of everything they've done. When they come to the tournament, there are a number of awards available to them, not just in design and programming, but also in outreach and the notebook and a few others that we'll get to in a second. And like the other programs, this is a worldwide program that FIRST does. There were over 6,000 teams worldwide last year. We had just under 200 in Minnesota, and we're just over 200 this year. So, judging. Again, the two main roles we need are judging and referees, and they're similar to FLL, but then a little bit different. In FIRST LEGO League, if you are the design judge, you will look at 14 or so teams, their design, and determine, with the help of others, but to basically determine who the winner is for that tournament out of that group of teams that you saw. In FIRST Tech Challenge, we have judges that will interview 6 teams. So you'll look at 6 teams, they will give a presentation, and they will talk about all areas of judging. So not just design, not just programming, but also their notebook, their outreach, and everything in this session. And their criteria in these different award categories and the different things they will be asked questions about. Then the judges will determine the finalists. So out of the 6 teams they looked at, maybe there are 2 teams that had really good programming, and they will be put on a list for who the finalists are in programming. Maybe there was one team that was really good in outreach, and so they do that in a motivate category or something. Or a couple of teams that might be good in their engineering notebook, and they'll then be put on the list for the finalists. All the judges, after they interview their 6 teams in the morning, will come together. They'll create these finalists lists in all the different categories. Then judges will be split up more to their specialties. So technical judges will then go and judge the programming, the design. In Minnesota, we also have a Stratasys Award for the most, not unique, but most useful 3D part. So it's a 3D printed part that has to be used as a functioning part of the robot. It can't but just be some cute head for it or something like that, but a functional part of the robot. So that's another kind of technical category we have, along with the other then categories in Motivate and Engineering Notebook and those. So next slide. Referees. Similar to FIRST LEGO League, they observe the matches. They will call rule infractions. There are penalties that can happen during the actual run. Robots cannot specifically interfere with each other. And they will run through their 2.5 minutes. The first 30 seconds of that 2.5 minutes is an autonomous period. So basically, like FLL, they hit go on the robot, and it goes and determines where it is on the field and hopefully accomplishes a number of scoring opportunities in the first 30 seconds of autonomous period. After that 30 seconds is up, they will pick up the controllers, and then they drive the robot for the next 2 minutes. And that will involve picking up and moving a number of objects. This year, they're kind of these large Lego blocks, about 4 inches by 8 inches. And they have to move those from one area over to a building platform and stack them, in effect, to build a building. And they will get points at the end for how big the building is. They can move the building platform around, and if it doesn't fall down, there are points for that. And the referees will go through and score this, not only during the match, but at the end. I've heard that the sound's not working. Hopefully that's not the case for everyone. Okay, well I will continue talking. Yep, okay, other people hear me, so, oh good. All right, okay. So they work through the matches and determine the final score at the end, and then move on to the next match. So it's an afternoon of judging, so next. Along with this, there are some field support needs that we have. Field tech advisors This is actually a good role for someone who was a coach or parent of someone on the team, or we actually have a number of these that were team members a number of years ago. They will help coordinate the field setup and conditions during the day, make sure everything's ready on the field, but they will also assist teams when they have issues. If they get to the field and for some reason the robot's not working, the FTA is there to help them try and get themselves connected again, get it working as best they can. There's also a field manager who kind of flows the traffic on and off both fields. We have 2 fields, again, that run, and they'll monitor the fields, make sure we're keeping on time and everything like that, and help ensure that things run straight. Inspectors. In the morning, when judging is being done, there's also robot inspection that's going on. And this is, inspectors will go through a list. There's a written down list of criteria that the robot has to meet. You know, besides its size and weight, it has to have certain safety things. Cables have to be tied down so they don't get caught on things. Wheels have to be designed so they're not going to tear up our fields, and a number of other safety issues that can be gone through. Since robot inspection is done, robot and field inspection is done in the morning, it's possible that you can referee FTA or FM and also do inspections in the morning. We have a lot of people who are inspectors and then referees. Then we also need scorekeepers, and again, this is setting up the scoring system and managing the system and displays throughout the day. They actually do the timing of the matches and will have on various displays set up for the results and walk through the day. And then toward the end of the day, they enter the award information and will be generating, as part of the software, who advances and who wins what awards. So again, at a tournament, this is a tournament for around 28 teams, so we schedule our tournaments for. We have 10 judges. 1 judge advisor is kind of the head judge. Dean's List interviewing is a slightly different process this year. We're going to be doing that separately from the tournament. The Dean's List is an award for an individual. So teams can nominate leaders on their teams, so 10th or 11th graders who are leaders on the team, to be a semifinalist in the Dean's List. They are then interviewed, and Minnesota, as a partner, gets to recommend or actually send a number of these people onto the World's competition as Dean's List, then finalists, and then they're judged with all the other Dean's List finalists from all the other regions and can be named Dean's List winners from the entire FTC community. Referees and scoring, again, 8 referees for our fields, a head referee, a scorekeeping assistant, and then the field staff that I defined, a field manager, a couple of FTAs, 1 for each field, the lead robot inspector and robot inspectors, and again, those robot inspectors can overlap with referees during the day also. Our FTC season, the dates again pretty much line up with the other things. The 2 weekends in November before Thanksgiving, we have 1 tournament the Saturday the 11th and 1 on Saturday and Sunday. December, the 2 weekends there. January, the 11th, 12th, 18th, and 19th. And then we have our state tournament the 2nd weekend in February. So you see, we only have 1 tournament on each day. So if you wanted to volunteer for every single FTC tournament, you can do that. The little note there about league tournaments, there's another way of running an FTC team in a league, and I won't talk about that now. They will come together in the January qualifiers and will be advanced to state the same way. And we don't really provide volunteers for that. But these are the dates for what we need FTC volunteers. What's next? So if you have questions about FLL and FLL Junior or FTC, the program, go ahead and feel free to type into the chat window, and now Barb will answer those questions as they come up, or point them to me and I will answer them if she can't. We're going to go on to the high-tech, the process for becoming a volunteer. I know you hate to say process, but like team signing up, you will need to sign up both with FIRST nationally and with High-Tech Kids. High-Tech Kids is where we do your availability. So if you go to the High-Tech Kids website, the volunteers link, and then sign up to be a volunteer, You'll enter your name and email contact information, be able to select what roles you're interested in doing of the roles we mentioned here, and then also select what potential dates, and then there's a notes field such that you can put in, I only want to do one a month, or I want to do every single one, or whatever your feeling is for how much you want to volunteer. I will tell you, volunteering is a long day. We'll get to the schedule a little bit later on, but it is a long day. We ask as a volunteer that you really only do one. If you just want to do one a season, we are more than happy to accommodate that and put you on the time you're available. If you want to do more than that, that's great too. You saw the number of volunteers we need. I believe last year we ran like 40 couple tournaments between the 3 programs. So we need a lot of volunteers to help with those. We do have a lot of people that come multiple times, but again, we're always looking for new volunteers. Also on our website, there's some training information and resources. You can see some of the training materials we have there. Right. The other place is you sign up on FIRST. You go to this firstinspires.org website, and you'll create an account on their dashboard. That's our access. If you're a coach already, you can go on to your team dashboard and just go to the volunteers tab there. We basically use the FIRST website to do our background checks. So they will do the background checks on all the volunteers. They also have a volunteer management software that some partners use, but we don't in Minnesota just because it doesn't quite meet our needs for what we're looking to do. So we ask that you sign up for a placeholder account. We have a single tournament for FLL Junior. We have a single tournament for FLL. We have a single tournament for FTC, which is just labeled as volunteer event. Click on that, that's what you want to volunteer for. And that will then allow you to go through the background check. And for FTC, it will also give you access to the training materials. The FIRST website has a lot of their training materials there. When this training is done, we will send a little note out to everybody that has information, a little more details on getting onto the FIRST site and getting onto our site, so you can do that. So FIRST and both FLL, as you know, we have additional training that will be going on in the next couple weeks. That's on our website. It's called it's called Officials Training. So, and there's training for judges and referees that is separate for FTC and FLL. There are also a couple of sites where we're doing all of those at one time, but generally it's going on together, so you would select one of those. FLL judges will receive, we have put together a judges pre-pack before training with some more information on it. FTC roles on the FIRST website, there's training, and then some roles require certifications. That's a quiz you take at the end of the training to make sure you made it through the training. Don't worry about certification. This isn't like final exams in anything. Pretty much you can, if you pay attention as you go through the training, you can go through the certification without any problem. And you can do the certification multiple times and all that kind of stuff. It's really just to make sure you have the basics down. We will always pair new volunteers with experienced volunteers at their first tournament. We're not going to put you in front of kids doing something that you've never done before without someone with you who has done it before. Sometimes this is 2 people. If we have enough people, we'll put a 3rd person in the room shadowing what's going on. If you are interested in seeing a tournament, please look on our website and come to one of them. All the tournaments are open to the public, so you can come in and sit in on any of the sessions, watch what's going on. If you come up to the judges' room or introduce yourself to one of the High-Tech Kids employees there that is helping to run the tournament, we'll get you so you can sit in on the judging sessions and talk with the judges there to feel a little more comfortable with the roles. Next. Okay, we sometimes get questions about youth volunteers. The official policy from FIRST is that FLL volunteers, trained volunteers, that is these officials we've been talking about, referees and field people and judges, have to be 18 years old. FTC trained volunteers must be 21 years old. In Minnesota, we bend those rules a little bit. because we have had very mature students who have gone through our program who we consider mature enough to participate as some of this. In the junior program, we'll let anyone who is on an FTC team now participate as an activities leader or assistant reviewer. We love having them along, and the kids like seeing someone closer to their age as a reviewer and an expert also. First LEGO League, we will look at mature 16 and 17-year-old students who have had FLL students experience to act as a second judge in the two areas where we have two judges. Youth referees are again kind of considered on a case-by-case basis. Referees, we want them to be mature enough to handle not only the team, judging the team and doing that is not a big thing, but handling questions a lot of times from adults in that. We try and shield people from that, but the youth have to be able to do that. First Tech Challenge, youth under, not in college, can participate as assistant scorekeepers or assistant field tech advisors. In college, we have some rules set up for as you go through the program, go through college, what you can do, and we'll have you refereeing. Our rules are kind of refereeing as a sophomore, junior, and then obviously when you're a senior, you're pretty much 21 years old and you can do any of the jobs possible. Youth volunteers have to be trained, and we will always obviously be pairing them with an experienced adult. They won't be on their own. There are a lot of other roles at tournaments, check-in tables, concessions. In FTC, there's doing pit administration, kind of keeping things straight going in the pit area where the teams are, queuing that youth may participate in as well. So event scheduling. When you submit your the roles you'd like to do and your availability on the High Tech Kids website, and you've gone through the training hopefully, Barb and I will be generating schedules kind of on a monthly basis. We try at the beginning of November to get out the schedule for all of November. Beginning of December or even the week before that, we try and get out all of December. As things get busy, that's not always possible, but we try and put them together that way. There'll be a schedule with what roles they are and who's assigned to the roles. You will notice when this comes out that we don't overschedule. We really don't have enough people to overschedule. So we send this out and we ask for your confirmation, yes, I'll be there, and that's pretty much saying you're going to be there because we don't have anyone else to fill that role. Now, of course, Friday night, if you have 102 fever, we don't want you coming and affecting all the teams and all our other volunteers, and we'll work around that. But when we send this out and you confirm back that, yes, you'll be there, we're hoping that's the case because we don't have the people available to do any more of that. Schedule, tournament day. Yes, here I outline it. 7:30 in the morning, that's the time a lot of the volunteers need to arrive. Judging usually starts around 8. Or in FLL, we have our opening ceremonies at that time and coaches meeting, and we'll move on to judging and refereeing. FTC, we start judging and inspections at 8, and we kind of go all the way through the day. There'll be a break for lunch for everyone. Afternoon, the matches continue in FTC. Matches and judging continue through the afternoon. Hopefully by about 3 o'clock or so, we'll be done with judging, and we'll start to do our deliberations to determine which teams are going to win which awards. 4:30 to 5, we have our award ceremony, and hopefully are out of there by 5:30 or so. So it is a long day. It's a great day. Most the volunteers come away feeling energized from the kids for the day. They then go home and, of course, collapse because it was a long day and tiring, but you feel energized during the day. It is really an invigorating day. What's next? So you've heard about lots of different programs and lots of different roles, and you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do. Well, is there an age group you like working with? Obviously, how you interact with kids at these different age groups is very different. You know, the questions you ask the First LEGO League junior teams are not anything like the questions you would ask the First Tech Challenge teams. Think about that. Do you prefer a sporting event atmosphere or a role that allows you to interact with the teams one-on-one. Referees and field support, you're down in this gym. There are, matches going on at multiple sites, back and forth. There's music playing. There's an announcer reading off the teams and the scores and doing a live play-by-play of the events as it's going on. It's a lot like a sporting event, just continuous movement and noise. I get to tell people that as a referee, you get to see teams at their absolute emotional highs and emotional lows, depending on what happens on the field. Judges see a team a little more in a calm setting. It's a one-on-one basis. The judges are talking with the team in a quiet classroom, a small audience. They present to you for some amount of time. You then can ask them questions and interact with them, find out more details about what they've done, what you're interested in, what they might be eligible for as an award. So it's a quiet kind of setting where you can interact with them more. Then, of course, you have a technical background. And I don't mean have you programmed an FLL robot. If you're a programmer, you can figure out FLL programming, no problem. And part of your job as judge is to let them explain the programming to you. If they can explain how to program it and to the point that you can understand it and ask questions, that's a very good sign for the team, not only that they actually did the programming themselves, but that they understand it enough to explain it to someone else. Design judging, the same thing. Questions like, well, why did you use these wheels? How did you build this attachment? You don't necessarily have to be a design engineer or a mechanical engineer to do that, but a little technical background helps. Again, coaches or parents of past participants make some of the best judges. Similarly in FTC, although our judging pairs in the morning look at all the different awards, in the afternoon we split up, and if you have a technical background, we'll tend to put you into the technical awards. If you have a good technical background, you're interested in the robots and how they connect and that kind of stuff, then think about something out on the field. The FTAs, you can start with robot inspecting in that and then move on to FTA. Still not sure, as I said, come and talk with us. Feel free to call us or email us or come to a tournament. We really want to make this a fun and fulfilling event, not only for the teams, but for all the volunteers, because we'd like to have you come back often. What's next? Yes. So officials training sessions. These are now you've gotten the overview of the programs and the jobs available. These are training sessions where you can come and learn more about one specific area. So the Thursday, October 17th and the Saturday, October 26th dates, we will have different sessions for FLL judging, FLL referees. We will also have sessions for FTC judging, FTC referees, and as part of that, if people are interested, we'll also be able to talk about inspections and the other field roles as necessary. On the 21st, we have sessions just for FTC. We'll have referees going here at our office, and then judges can either come to the office or join a webinar like this where there'll be a discussion of what the judging process is, what the different awards are, how you kind of go through the day. Similarly, FLL on the 29th and 30th, we have sessions at our office, both in our office and over webinar for referees and for judges. And we'll work through those things. If you're interested in the FLL scoring, running the computer system, there's a special session on the 22nd for them. And that will be also our office and a webinar. Yes. Still too much? Too soon? Okay. Consider, as I talked about the non-trained roles, we need help setting up and tearing down. We set up Friday night. We run tournaments Saturday and Sunday, most weekends, and then Sunday after the award ceremony, we pack it all up, load it back into our vehicles, and store it away till the next week. There's also day of event support, as I talked about, check-in, data entry, DJ, things like that. Many of these roles allow youth so long as they're accompanied by an adult, or a lot of times a teenager will be someone who's familiar with FTC, will be the DJ or announcer for the role. Many of these are 2 to 3 hour shifts. But there's a different process than non-trained roles. These roles are controlled actually by the tournament organizer. So each of our tournaments is at a school. If you look at our schedule, they went through various high schools and middle schools, and there's a representative of the school who is the tournament director, and they kind of control these roles. You can go to our website, select the FLL program, and go to the tournament list, and then when you select the page, there will be a Sign Up Genius link there. You can click on that and see the different roles available at that specific tournament, what times they are, and there's a whole list of the possible jobs you can do and shifts you can have. If you just want to come in and watch judging for an hour and then volunteer for check-in for 2 to 3 hours, that would be perfect. We'd love you to have to do that. Okay, now
We have a quick survey just to find out how you heard about us. This was an introduction session, and so if you could check on this real quick,
Go ahead.
we'd appreciate it.
Click on your response to this.
And I didn't put an other up there, but and if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. That's the only thing we have left is questions.
The question was, will this presentation be online? And yes, our plan is to put this online. Hopefully that we've recorded the audio along with it. That was a question earlier on, but we think we've got that bug worked out. So yes, this presentation will be online and hopefully with the audio. So the whole basic webinar will be online. See a couple other questions coming in.
When would be the volunteer sign out available for FLL?
It is already available on the website. Yes, you can go and go to the volunteer link and sign up and put in your information.
Should we do the background check immediately?
Yes,
Sure.
You can go ahead and do that. You'll have to go to the first site for that and select the Minnesota FLL or FTC event, and then they'll put you through the background check process. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that, and I believe that's valid for then 4 years.
Yeah.
I think that's their policy is it's valid for 4 years after that. So you only have to do that once every 4 years.
We will send out a sheet as you entered this, hopefully you entered an email address. We can send you all a sheet that kind of gives you the how to do that volunteer check, that background check.
Right. If you didn't put in an email, you just called in on the phone, that's fine. If you send an email either to barb@hightechkids.org or norm@hightechkids.org, we'll send you that information sheet too.
Do underage volunteers, wait a minute.
Need to complete the background check? No, they don't. There is no background check for underage volunteers, and that's why they're always paired with an adult.
Right. When is the Sign Up Genius available for tournaments? I can't see it for the November 16th FTC tournament yet. Different tournament directors may not use that Sign Up Genius. A lot of times at the school they have their FRC teams help with the event, and so some events they don't have issues getting volunteers, and so they don't ever go to Sign Up Genius. Other events they put it up there right away. And there's a meeting with tournament directors tomorrow. We're hoping to know which of them are going to use it so we can get it out there for more tournaments. Right now, I know the Lakeville tournaments do have Sign Up Genius out. That's the weekend of November 23rd, 24th, I believe those dates.
If you'd really like to volunteer for something at a specific tournament and you don't see it there, again, email Barb or myself, and we'll put you in touch with the tournament director to see if they have roles available or not.
Mm-hmm.
Still waiting for another question or two.
I'm going to. A lot of current or past coaches. If you already signed up, do you have to wait to be contacted for the role you wish to volunteer? If you already signed up, I would say make sure you attend the training for the role that you want. We've got your name, we've got your availability if you put it in there. So wait to hear from us to get scheduled. But definitely do go attend the training that we have coming up for the different roles. The October 17th and 22nd training.
Oh, there isn't a training the 22nd. If you're talking about the 26th.
I said that wrong, the 26th.
Yes, they will basically be covering the same material.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pick one or the other. You don't need to come to all of them.
Unless, of course, you want to learn different roles, then you can come to all of them.
Or you can jump in and out.
Right.
Any other questions?
But yes, the 17th and 26th are set up to be exactly the same training.
And just to be clear, we are doing both First Lego League judges and referees at those trainings that are for both programs. There you go, the results of our survey. I'm not seeing any more questions, so thank you all for attending and giving us a little bit of information we asked for here about how you heard about us.
Yes, and as always, if you have questions, please email Barb or myself, barb@hightechkids.org or norm@hightechkids.org, and we will get back to you.
Thank you all.
Thanks much.